Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free, and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free, and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper, so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm, so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm, and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kernke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines, in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and west. Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and Ultranet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in Lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying states, the outlying territories, and, oh my goodness, and the clock. Somewhere it is 5:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the bottom of the state of Michigan, but midnight in other locations, or midday. And, oh my goodness, all kinds of stuff going on right now, but today's date, it is, it's Tuesday already, Communications Tuesday. It is the 27th of October. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America, with a K, 2020. Old Earth calendar, 2020, Battle for the Republic, Dance of Swords. Battle continues. And, of course, pretty exciting. All kinds of fun stuff going on right now. Can't stress enough, especially in light of what we see. Ooh, I'm going to drop some.
Hey, Mark,
I'm doing this.
We are having some interesting problems right now. We are up on YouTube, and we are up on the conference line here, but we are not up on the other two normal streams. I'm in the process of trying to get that back up and online. Everything was fine right before the program, and then I've been having problems with the computers the last 3 days. All of a sudden, that computer decided to crash, the one that runs those two feeds. So I'm in the process of trying to get it back up and running, guys. I'm almost there. Be patient. I know we probably got a bunch of people that are calling in. I'm working on it. It'll be done soon.
So again, we are up with the live stream in theory. We'll see how long that lasts before they disrupt that. This has been random and ad hoc through the whole system. Let's talk about communications with the internet for a minute. This is not accidental. This is actually part of what is a randomized hesitation program. The idea is to see how much disruption you can do and how much people are going to notice or, put together, connect the dots. Government does this. Basically, they hand this over to the Israelis and the Asian market because they can find the cheap, prostitutes / employees, if you want to call them that, to get the job done. Hello, how are you doing, Mrs. Kornke, Mark Kornke, Mrs. Whoa, and we hit a little circle there. I'm sure Ed's working on it. But anyway, the other thing are these random pecks at the system as it progressively circles the drain, so to speak. And this has to do with a number of things, not just with, psyops, but also with miscalculations on the part of the idiot sticks in Silicon Valley and other locations with regard to how they assumed people were going to continue to spend their money mindlessly, or maybe not so mindlessly, or actually maybe using their brains a bit. And that actually is what's going on. I've talked to a lot of people. They're discontinuing a lot of the stuff that right now they see as nothing but supporting the enemy. And so what's happening is they're dumping whole elements. Some people are walking away from Facebook completely, which I understand. It's a waste of time if half of the year you're in Facebook jail, quote unquote, with no explanation, or even if there is, it's totally ludicrous based upon going to another page and watching people slaughtered, cut in half, deader than a doornail, and they stay up and the videos run nonstop. It's like YouTube with the stuff that they throw up there. As long as it's a quadriplegic homosexual Eskimo posting it, it's okay. So it's arbitrary and based upon political agenda. the government is working hand in glove with the Silicon Valley group, both the Republic Rats and the Democrats. Read that, the globalists / ring knockers and spit swappers, who are also on the Epstein pedo list, by the way. And some who aren't on the Epstein pedo list because they're the ones who are running it. We're not supposed to talk about them. Just talk about the ones who are using. Well, what about the ones who are running? Because there were a lot more that pointed a lot of people there for a reason. Yes, manipulative power. So anyway, this is where, again, spreading out and moving to other areas, which is something we've been doing too and we're working on, trying to find an interesting resource that might be useful here and there, which we have. I'm doing some already.
Live stream dropped.
Oh, and live stream dropped. Okay, well, no, actually, the live stream is one that Ed's having a problem with. I think he's working on it right now. Although, then again, maybe that's pinged next.
Thank you.
Recommendation, real quick here.
Mark, I've got an update. The SamCloud feed is up and running. The YouTube feed is still up and running. I am working on the MRS feed, which is my radio stream. That's the one that's giving me the problem right now. All the others are back up and running.
Very good. There we go. So again, just guys, search around. If one system, experiment. One is part of the system isn't working, try one of the others, see what they do for you. Anyway, on social media, for instance, here's what's comical. Okay, Farcebook had some interesting packages. So did Twit at one time. The Twit program, of course, is so far on the corner it's worthless. Not that Facebook's any better, not that most anything that Google touches doesn't turn to feces, as we know. But here's what's kind of comical. This is what a lot of you people, I think, caught on to at the same time. You know, for $75, you can upgrade your Facebook, and you'll get this and this and this. But you got to spend the $75 or $77 or $79.95, and you'll get so much better. What will I get better? It won't make it. If I spend the $75 on that account, and I actually started commercializing it, why would I want to when some purple-haired guppy that's a Fruit Loop is looking cross-eyed, slugging donuts, drinking, sugar-free Coke or Pepsi, and looking like Jabba the Hutt's younger sister, okay, literally, who's going to randomly just say, oh, you're off for 30 days, 90 days. Why would I spend money on that? We actually were discussing spending a little more money to expand on certain elements to, be able to promote whatever. But in every case, these people cut off their nose to spite their face. In fact, it was like, oh, well, that just confirms my suspicions. Now I know better than to do that. We're not going to, spend that kind of resource on something that, hell, half the time it can't access. But anybody with any kind of business sense would know better than to do this. And in reality, until somebody finally, of course, again, you're dealing with socialist / hairball, Pavlometers to begin with, Fruit Loops and nutcases. And again, sociopaths who assume it's just supposed to drop in my lap. With that attitude, needless to say, there is no management skill. There is no business savvy. There isn't any interest in anything. Well, of course, rubbing each other's butts and, touching each other's bungholes because they're, the Poofta crew. Yeah, they're in their own clique, but it's a spiral downwards because it's kind of like I told you about gun shops and cops. When the cops start showing up at a gun shop, all of a sudden they're asking, or they're getting snide, or they start asking questions and paying attention. After a while, people start getting kind of nervous, or they realize, and the management likes it because they got to try and suck up to the cops. They're really in a bad position because, well, the cops expect free or discount. You don't get that discount or free. And progressively, they run all the customers away. And, in fact, every gun shop that's ever done the cop thing, some will last a little longer because they're in a place where there's a colony of cops, county, state police, and, whatever. And they're all together in an area. So, yeah, they can probably feed one or two like that, one or two. But the rest always go out of business. Every one of them, every time, same routine. I can write down a list that, in the area where one by one, the cops, gun range is the same way. Well, the cops come in, all of a sudden, they're going to tell everybody what to do at the range. They're going to tell the range what to do, and then progressively, nobody goes to shoot. Nobody re-ups as members. oh, the cops have their way with the toys that everybody else made for a little bit. But they're like Californicators. Cops are just like Californicators. They're the same kind of socialist. And what happens is they piss in the pool until they ruin it, and then they flip bird down the road. Well, what's happened is things have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, and so they don't have the places to go suck off and roost like they used to. And what's interesting is, unlike that, with internet, it's like, well, if somebody's smart, how did all the rest of these stupid operations run? They're not permanent in that, oh my God, I can't do without them. Just the reverse. I mean, they're ethereal. It's like radio. It's like, well, I've got a handful of Facebook. We'll pat on the heads and squeeze on the asses. Well, that doesn't do me any good. There we go. Go right ahead.
All streams should be active now. The SoundCloud I had to restart again. So that should be catching up actually right about now. It looks like we're green across the board again. I don't know what happened. If there was any audio coming out over the radio station before when the caller said we went down, it was probably me taking back the audio feed. I think we got hacked on the one. Somebody else was piping stuff out that wasn't us.
Very good. Okay, so we got an idea what's going on now. Everything, get a confirmation. Well,
yeah,
obviously we don't.
I've changed the access points and the passwords on everything, so hopefully
very good.
That won't happen again.
Excellent. And again, www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Then the information on all the different streams are available there where you can link. That's www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. libertytreeradio.4mg.com. I got to mention this real quick. You guys that are lefties right now, you guys can all get guns for a better price if you're looking at bolt-action rifles. I've been kind of digging through the system to find the best price for a scoped bolt-action that's out there that's reasonably priced. Remember before the corona beer virus scam and before everybody started scarfing everything up, I could find you a $240 to $260 centerfire rifle with a scope, any number of different manufacturers, and maybe at the most go the high-end $280, and you'd be ending up with a really good tack-driving utility rifle, a marksman's rifle. Okay, it doesn't need to be a sniper rifle; it's a marksman's rifle. That's all you need for most of what you're doing. Interestingly enough, there are a ton of left-hand guns. If you're a lefty and you're listening, over at Classic Firearms, go through their centerfire rifle. Go through their rifle inventory. Go over to long guns, then go over to rifles and go through there. They have Savages, Mossbergs, several different manufacturers, including, well, actually quite a few Savages. Both complete down to scope mounted, ready to go, or again, nothing on the roof, and you got to figure out what you want to stack there. Prices vary, but there's still 500 or less. 500 will get you a really nice optics attached bolt action left-hand gun that will pretty well serve you the rest of your life. If you wanted to keep it around, which I recommend, guns are for buying, not for selling. But there's a lot of decent left-hand weapons in the inventory over at ClassicFirearms.com. Just want to bring it up as a note. So anyway, now, back in another direction here. Let's go to social media. There's a number of different locations other than going to and being stuck with Facebook, for instance. And in fact, if you're listening on Facebook, I think right now I'm blocked again. What a surprise. We're almost to the election disaster. It's a given. No explanation of why. Just randomly throw a dart, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you've done something. Well, actually, I haven't done anything different from any other stuff I've done, so who cares? It's arbitrary. Some oi boy, some Jewish mafia slob, his gefilte fish was spewing out of his face, and his yarmulke was spinning on his head because, oh my God, we got to get him off, whatever it was. Doesn't make any difference. Fact of the matter is that that is going to be a thing for all of you, I would say, in the next few days because of where we are headed, what's going on right now. And so for that reason, I would recommend that you start looking at other social media and take the time In fact, oh hell, as a matter of fact, hold on here. See if I can, somebody just sent me another message. Yes. Oh, okay, we're up on, well, I didn't know about that feed. We've, actually, somebody said there was a hiccup on the satellite feeds, which are not ours, by the way. And thank you, I appreciate that. But that's not us. However, that is us. So if you were listening that way, and we appreciate that, thank you. We were probably a little bit of a hiccup. The feeds all come from the same location, from Edwards End. So, yes, we are back up. Anyway, whatever you choose to do, drag a bunch of people along, experiment, see what all the different services are doing right now, and, move to them. At least have something in another arena so that what basically you're doing is going from one direction to the other without losing heartbeat, without losing any sleep over it. You're not really all that concerned. Who really cares?
Hey, Dad.
Go ahead.
With this being Communications Tuesday, and thank you for letting us know about the other feed that's down. Even though that's out of our control, we may be up right now on the internet, guys, but give them time to get their stuff reset, because what happened to me, they may need to...
they may not even realize it yet, yeah. Yeah.
It all depends on, if somebody's actually sitting in the office, if it's automated, anybody who has contact with them, get a hold of them.
A lot of people just do the...
There may
Go
be
ahead.
a delay because, we're sending it out to the internet. The internet's... we're digitizing it, sending it out to the internet. It's coming to you. It's being de-digitized. It's going to them wherever they're at, and however they're feeding their system, it's going through that. So it may take 5-10 minutes for them to catch up with where we're at, Just
the echo in the machine, yeah.
Yeah, be patient. There's a saying, no news is good news, but also, lack of communications is a sign of an attack. We've been having all kinds of communications hiccups. Part of it here has been the weather, if anybody hasn't been following. Dad, what's the weather like up where you're at right now?
Rainy and wet, and amazingly enough, normally the system would be crashing because down the road we have a couple of boxes that were leaking. I got this funny feeling they had enough complaints that they figured they finally better do something about it, because you always knew it's kind of like way up in the Upper Peninsula years ago. We had a satellite system up there, and every time it rained, certain channels, you watch them fade right out, and you knew box number 14 probably had a seal leak. The same is true of what we're seeing here, but right now, no interruptions, no disruptions of any kind. So
down here where
for the moment,
on the edge of the desert in Lubbock, Texas, we've got an ice storm, a snowstorm, another ice storm, stacking up on us down here in the southern part of the country. And of course, everybody's making comments about global warming, and people down here in the south really do not know how to drive on ice. I was like, I've watched probably 3 or 4 vehicles today. I took a little run out to one of the shops, and 3 or 4 vehicles fishtailing, and I'm like, you're taking the turn way too fast. Slow down. Pay attention to what your vehicle is doing. If you're driving a pickup truck, there's an old trick that we use. You throw weight in the back. That way you have more weight when you're on the ground, People are saying that they're airing up their tires. In weather conditions like this, when you're on ice, you may want to deflate your tires a little bit so you have a little more traction. That's another old trick. If you can't put chains on your tires, what do? Put
more rubber on the road.
Yeah. That's not going to stop every accident, but it'll help you have a little more control of the vehicle.
And the first rule is slow down. There's no, you're a little slower, you'll be there a few minutes later unless you're really good at it. Amazingly enough, as long as you just keep chugging along with some intelligence, you'll make it. It's that simple. So slow down. Remember, it's not going to be an if, it's just a when. You're going to get there. Other than the rain, we've got snow up north in the Upper Peninsula a little bit. They've had ice also. We've had it out west, but that's typical for this time of year. You got to remember, guys, that's uphill. Let's remind everybody of something. They're in the Great White North, up north. It's uphill from us, so they're at a higher altitude. That's why that happens. And the UP, Lake Superior, is the top of the power pool with regard to the Great Lakes. Lake Superior is theoretically, they claim that the Lake Superior is the only actual lake. The rest are just swollen rivers. So, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. but Lake Superior is at the top of the Cascade, way up north. So just keep that in mind. Let's see, what else did we have real quick in the way of announcements? Nothing is jumping out. Donald Trump is in Michigan, or was in Lansing. I don't know if he's still there. I don't know if he's just doing instead of train stops, they do whistle stops by plane now. So he was in Lansing. Everybody showed up. I'm sure that the governor, of course, is, frothing at the mouth and screaming at the television screen, "How dare you! How dare you! How dare you! I'll get even." Which, of course, is the kind of Fruit Loop we have in charge. First of all, should ever have gotten into the governor's post, but there again, and the same with the attorney general. They both need to be gone, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows they're loony as a day is long, queer as a $3 bill, and yeah, that's why I call it Greta Bruce Jenner. I ain't telling you that's a woman. I'm just telling you, Greta Bruce Jenner. You take a look, you tell me. I think it speaks for speaks for itself. Go ahead, caller.
Speaking of how dare you, I noticed an article about, it was actually a series of clips from people. They're starting to push the global warming thing again. It's like the COVID has morphed into COVID global warming.
Global. It's global warming. Oh, my God. Not global warming. We knew those two storms would come together, man. Never get off the boat, man. Never get off the... Oh, God. So, anyway...
They've even resurrected Greta.
Well, I was just telling somebody, I don't mind if she came over here by boat, that's fine. She can paddle her ass back over by swim, headed back to Europe. Personally, kick her off the dock with a backpack full of rocks. You're going to talk about... Yeah, I can. We can talk about anybody any way we want. Be quite honest, everybody's pretty well tired of what we see going on here. And again, for Greta, it's like I got some pissy, Twilight Zone, punky-ass teenager who doesn't have a clue about... Well, she does have a clue. She knows how to... I would put her in the category of like a prison black. They know how to play. That's, they'll play a routine, okay? Yeah, if I scream enough and squawk enough, I don't have to do anything for myself. You'll all be doing it for me. And it's always so tough to do whatever I'm doing. How dare you? Oh, how dare you? Well, I'm an adult. I'll dare a lot. What's your point? And I'll walk up and slap you in the process, too. How's that sound? Because that's really what needs to happen with most all of this trash that's going on. So, yeah, the fact that they're pulling they're pulling all the stops out. In reality, that's the better way to describe it, is that they're pulling all the stops out. They're getting ready to go the next level, quote unquote. And it's
now
not
also,
go ahead.
Just wedge one more thing in here. I hadn't been to Lou Rockwell in a while. LouRockwell.com. Lou Rockwell, LeWrockwell.com. There's an article there, right at the top of the scroll there today. I can't remember exactly. I've got it on the phone here, but I'm talking to you and I can't get off. So, very good article. It's a read. It's not a video. The gentleman presents, I forget the guy back from the 1500s who was analyzing slavery and wrote a book about it, which you can actually, when you find that at the top of the article, they cite the book. There's a little blurb from the guy. You can go to archive.org and get that book, and it's a study on how people allow themselves to be enslaved. Very, very good read. But I would recommend that to everybody to go and read that. And if you've got anybody, again, at this point, how much brain dead do you need to be on the fence at this point? But he makes a strong case for saying, we got to say the hell with this or we're going to wind up in an eternal slavery.
Right, so we're at the point where it's slavery-free. Which will you be? I totally agree with that. We're at the point where you just have to put your foot down. There's no kindness to your enemy, keyword, enemy. And unless we understand that we need to beat the living snot out of them to the point where they're to a pulp, either they're going to be dead or they're going to be gone, as in we're going to deport them. There's going to be a fight over this. It's not a maybe, kind of, sort of. Your enemy is very dead, cold, serious. They've already told you. I mean, they count on the idea that, I guess, everybody's gone into catatonic brain fart stupid with a 2-day memory span. People, they got right up in the microphones and said they wanted you dead. Now, I don't know how much more clear that is, but when you walk up and tell me you want to kill me, And then all of a sudden, well, we weren't as serious about that. You know, we threw that card out too soon, and now everybody wants to kill us back. So it's like, that's just crazy. We never said. It's like Biden, telling everybody about they're really harping on this, the fossil fuel thing. Well, I mean, it's so blatant. Yes, he does. He says we're going to get them all. We're going to destroy it all. I never said that. Okay, that's like the epitome of how all these communists work. They'll spew this stuff out there, but it's a compression of what we've been dealing with for decades. Oh, we didn't say New World Order. We said New World Order. You know what I mean?
New World Order.
Yeah. How many times do you want to hear it? Oh, but that's crazy. And you know what? It's also the conservative scammers that would parrot the same, that's just crazy patriot mythology. By the way, I got to go to a New World Order meeting. George Herbert Walker Bush is going to be there. New World Order. Well, you're just crazy because we were told to tell everybody that you're crazy because, we're doing it. That way you won't catch on until it's done. It's like one of the things that was being discussed today that keeps getting popped in. I listened a little bit to, the Yap radio station, one of them while I was sitting waiting, parked for a little bit, and they brought up NAFTA and GATT again. Now, guys, I'm going to hammer this. The Republicans and Democrats were all responsible for NAFTA and GATT. It was, Bill Clinton signed it. Sure he did. But that's not the man who ran on it. The big thing about the betrayal with Bill Clinton for the Democrat rank and file is that he told, and the fake-ass party told everybody, well, if you vote for Bill Clinton, we'll stop NAFTA and GATT, and your jobs won't go to China. Okay, so then the powers that be, because we don't really elect these fools. This election right now is a scam, just like the other ones have been. It's going to be what they're going to judge by watching now social media harder than they have in the past, which is where, again, Silicon Valley cooperates. They're watching the trends. They saw how well, instead of being scared, people are getting pissed. But if people are getting pissed, how can they use that? Well, if both of their shills, Trump the shill and Biden the shill, are both in their pockets, then they have to decide which shill do they think they need to use. And if they use one, either one, they're going to have to be blatant in their next acts in the next 4 years. Now, granted, the Trump zombies, no matter what Trump does, in fact, when he attacked the bump stock owners, it was okay. Guys, go to Guns and Gadgets and watch the last 4 or 5 videos there. What I told you was going on way back when the bump stock thing started up. Do you remember? In fact, it's in the archives. I think it might even be the archives right now still with Libertytreeradio on YouTube. Go back to the very, very earliest episodes there, and you'll find, if you listen in, I was talking about the whole thing that this will generate the other arbitrary and capricious actions immediately. And you know what they were saying to the gun? Oh, it's going to be down the road. Oh, they're not. Donald Trump's not going to do anything. Guys, the moment that they got that thing in motion with idiot stick Trump signing the paperwork, the bat faggots were in motion on the AR-15 pistols. And by the way, the AK pistols, too. Immediately. You know what? How we know this? Well, it turns out the market's finally talking about it now, and how everybody got letters and everybody got this, and they were told to stop the production on that, and blah, 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 blah. Well, go listen, go watch Guns and Gadgets, and listen to what they're now acknowledging. Well, way back in da-da-da. Well, in other words, just as quickly as they realized that Idiot Stick gave them the power, the wicked, evil bat faggots interpreted that as their opportunity to go after the guns. Which is rightly so, because anybody with a brain would know that you don't give any of the swamp, the dirty dark swamp, the evil dark swamp, the evil swamp creatures, the swamp agencies, you don't give them anything. Ever. So Kushner, the president, Trumpette, and Netanyahu told him to get the gun grab thing in motion from the Trump side, and they have. So now everybody, no matter whichever way they flip this, because right now we don't have an election. An election takes place in one day. You go, you cast your ballot, and then you get on with the other 364 days of life. for a day, and not even most of a day. For a short time, you're committed to a window of activity. It lasts an hour or 2 hours. It is not the epicenter of your universe. It's not supposed to take up most of your life's time or an eighth of the year. It's supposed to be one window of activity, one specific day, and only one event for you, casting your vote once. We do not have an election. This is not an election. In fact, it is the epitome of what the founders warned about with what? What would happen with fake-ass democracy as opposed to a limited constitutional republic, in fact, based upon the Articles of Confederation first. So look what you've got now, and you'll notice that the Republicans all spew democracy. Well, if you understand exactly what the intent, what was going to happen and what everybody was warned about, well, guess what? You're listening to it, and it's on your streets right now demanding free. I want free. Now, ain't none of those. I'm going to tell you something. Most of those characters you see out there are fat asses. Now, let me ask you, how did they become fat asses? Because we got so much plenty in this country, they were already getting free. They already are been sucking the gravy to the point where they're fat asses. I don't have a problem with people normally, but if they were going out there with gaunt faces and their cheeks were sucked in, granted, those are probably the crackheads who want free dope, but if they were out there and it was a whole legion of that, they were running around in sackcloth because the clothes were rotting off their back, and they had barely any shoes with toes sticking out and the heels were worn through, that'd be one thing.
Mark?
But you don't see any of those. There's nothing like that. There's a bunch of sorry-ass, fat-ass I-wants that hate you because they've sucked so much they figure they can demand everything else you own in the process. So I got no sympathy for any of them. None. Zero. Zip. Go ahead, caller. Jump in there.
Yeah. This is Tex-Mex. What you're talking about, they probably got all that lard on them from eating all the government cheese they got, all that.
Right. Well, I'll grab all the government cheese I could find if we could anymore, but there's really not a whole lot of that out there by comparison. No, that's because they're sucking on all the other stuff for free, including all kinds of goodies.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's still the same problem. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed that, like you're saying, I agree with you there that, they're always showing these lines of people trying to get free food, because of the COVID thing. Well, what gets me is that these lines everybody's in a car. So
yeah, what are they driving, by the way?
Yeah, I know. And if they got a car, that means they got enough money for insurance, gas, and the car payment. So, I mean, if they were really, really that poor and then hurting that bad, I mean, seems to me they'd be walking in bread lines, not in a car line. I mean, these are just people looking for free stuff. Like you just
don't understand how they're suffering, man. He couldn't buy next year's Mercedes, man. He's stuck with last year's Mercedes. Do you know how tough that is? By the way, you ought to see half the canned goods they throw out when they get down the road because they're not name brand.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it wasn't Del Monte. That's not Del Monte. I'll throw it out. That's not Del Monte. I'll throw that out too. But don't let them see it because we have to act. We know how to play the rubes. I'm telling you. Well, that's the same problem that we saw when. In fact, you bring up the government cheese, guys. They had a scam going right here in Detroit when they were shucking the billions of dollars, 10, 20 billion at a time with a B. Free bucket money, no accountability. They had this big warehouse in downtown Detroit. Now, somebody finally took a camera, an old VHS. This is back in the day of VHS. And in the front, you had to get in a line, and you could get your cheese and, some rice and cornmeal and whatever else they had. They had some canned meat from Ohio and stuff like that. But on the back door of the big-ass warehouse was another line. It was Mercedes, BMWs, custom vans, all brand new vehicles. And what was going on in the back door? Well, this guy was taking cash, and these people were riding up in their brand new Sevilles and their brand new Ford custom vans, completely pimped out, the whole nine. I mean, nice living, nice custom vans. And the brand new Mercedes, brand new, Mercury Marquis, et cetera, et cetera. and they were sliding an envelope or cash out the window, and the guy would be shucking chunks of cheese through the window to the drivers or to somebody in the back window. And the guy filmed this while they were like 20, 30, 40 cars, but the cars were around the block down the other way away from the warehouse. Now, you can't tell me somebody didn't know this was going on. So I would assume that they were dividing up the spoils from the cash made on the government cheese that was provided for free. You had to stand in line for up front, but you could buy as many chubs as you wanted out the back door. It wasn't part of the program to get the people fed. The poor people who were suffering so, while they drove home in all of their suffering in that brand new Mercedes or that brand new Beamer or that right down the shopping list.
Hey, Dad, I thought this was cute. One of the guys just passed this to me. I posted it in the Discord. It's from Sun Paradise Star. It's a Wisconsin paper. How Wisconsin voters can cure hundreds of ballots already rejected. Now, a bunch of the ballots that they've sent out for you to send in, well, if you voted with them, your vote might not have been counted. This article is all about how you can go and secure your vote again. But
vote early, vote often.
Mailing in your ballot will be just fine.
Yeah, well, vote early, vote often, like we've said a million times here.
Well, there are some states that their Senate and their House, like Michigan's actually passed a law that if you do vote multiple times using that piece of paper that they sent you, even if you didn't mean to, you could become a felon now. This seems like it's a voter scam, but it's a voter scam in another direction to make a whole lot of people criminals. All of a sudden, if you voted more than once, you're going to have a criminal record. Even if you didn't know, like you said, well, they sent me a voter thing, and I just thought I had to vote again. Doesn't matter. There's no excuse. You're automatically a criminal now, unless you do these steps. And one of the things says destroy the extra ballots at home. But, of course, you have to prove that you've destroyed the extra ballots at home if you even admit to having them.
Well, and that comes down to who's counting at the other end. Remember, the 4 years ago, we had videos after videos showing them stuffing the people at the ballot booths who were running it, having wads of ballots that were the size of a sheaf of paper, a block of copy paper. And they were trying to stuff a wad of paper that big into a slot about 1/3 the thickness, because 3 women would be blocking the view of anybody else because there was nobody in there. And they had all their pre-signed out, pre-made out ballots for, whoever it was, all ready to stuff in there. It wasn't Republicans doing that. It was the Democrats. Now, I don't think it's any different. And if they got the right people picking up the mail, they're not going to tell anybody anything. They're just going to go right ahead and claim that they counted them, however they counted them, and stuff the numbers, which is what they've done in the past.
In this article, Dad, they're telling you to bring your unused ballots when you go to vote and to hand them over to the person. Once it's out of your hands, you don't know what that other person's going to do with it.
Right,
I don't care if it's an official with the election system. You put your ballot in somebody else's hands, they can do whatever. It's just like throwing trash out on the street. Once it leaves your possession, somebody else can fill it out and do whatever they want with it.
Exactly. Well, in fact, that's most likely what they would do. Yeah.
That's the excuse they use all the time when they go through somebody's trash for evidence, is that, well, you threw it out, so it wasn't yours. You didn't really want it anyway, so we took possession of it.
But you can't do that.
I can see somebody in that position saying, well, they didn't want their vote, so we took possession of it.
And we also took care of it and made sure it was used properly. Well, again, this is where there's no election. As far as I'm concerned, it's purely the most arrogant example of whoever the outside powers that have been manipulating the American system for this long time are now just going to throw the dart based upon who they think is more pissed for the moment. But they've already set it up in such a way that it isn't going to be a good situation for anybody anyway. Because one way or another, we're not going to riot. We're just getting ready to go to war. If they decide to plug the Democrats in, I plan on shooting the powers that are behind the curtain more than I do the organic sandbags up front. Everybody should have that attitude. I'm going to look for the problem that, like we got the Institute for Social Research. We've completely pegged them. We know everybody on site. Locations, secondary locations, all the scam clandestine points around campus. etc., and out away from campus. Oh God, you ought to see some of the stuff. Well, the fact of the matter is,
as far as the presidential election goes, we know that that's a scam. When you do that popular vote doesn't mean jack. It doesn't. You have to be a member of the Electoral College to vote for president. You can look at the popular vote and decide whether or not you want to vote with it. But for the most part, most states, the electors don't actually have to vote with the popular vote. They don't. That's the idea of the democracy thing that wants the popular vote in there. That way, places like California, New York can dominate the vote just by sheer population.
Right, and it's not a matter if, it's a matter of simply when they're going to, hit the switch, whichever direction they're going to go. And they've actually stacked the deck with regard to conflict. So we know that we have to defend ourselves, which means if they hit the Democrat switch, we're at war. If they hit the Republican switch, it's a molasses war. And what I mean by that is, number one, Trump's ATF is going after gun owners right now. In fact, it turns out, like I told you, back when they started the bump stock thing, they were already in motion, and a lot of the industry knew about it, but they didn't tell anybody. And I've warned you about that, too, for decades, about the industry. We know a lot of people in the industry, and a lot of them know that, well, they'll suck up to the Fed because they have to for their business, and the cop shops because, after all, that way they get special protection. But when the time comes, all of a sudden, those same cops and those feds are the ones that are going after the regular gun owner. You see how that works? So we're going to back the cops. Why? I want you to think about that. Why? Yeah.
You got to hear this slide from this article. Every voter has up to 3 tries, essentially, both at the polling place and through absentee ballots.
Oh, right. I get 3 votes. That's what that interprets out to. I feel better already. You got 3 opportunities. Maybe 4.
Usually, you go to the polling place and you vote. And how do you know?
You're done. You're supposed to be done. That's it. That's it. Well,
I'm just scratching my head on that sentence.
1 vote, finished, on to other things. Right? That's how it works, guys. Anyway, we have another caller. Caller, being patient. Jump in there.
Yeah, it's Tex-Mex again. Yeah. I was going to go over that last video from Guns and Gadgets. He's a little naive talking about that the ATF is kind of like thumbing their nose at the Trump administration and saying that they're getting ready for the for Biden to win, and then they're going to go. Start picking everything up and going after gun owners and everything. But I think he's a little naive about that because, I mean, like you said before, these are Trump's dogs. I mean, if he's not calling them off, then he's the one who set them loose.
Right. Well, he did when he signed, no matter what, okay, if nothing else, let's say it's a big bureaucracy. The reason how do you stop them from having power? You don't sign anything off to them, guys. And he knew better. I don't care what Kushner pushed this because Kushner's got run around, Trump around by the gonads with a big chunk of this. Kushner is the Kabbalist working for Netanyahu to make sure that he, tighten in the camp there, and Trump is moved wherever they want to move him. He's told what to do. Now, what gets me about this is it's been 4 solid years. How long does it take for you to finally apply yourself as president? And now I'm going to go back to what I said 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I don't care what he says. First of all, you don't go golfing, okay? Why? Well, because there is the possibility you're a one-term president. Do you remember what I said, guys? I've repeated this many times. If you were going in as president, and if supposedly it really was a dogfight, if supposedly, then your ass is going out in 4 years. So you've got as quickly as you hit the ground, you've got to be in motion, hacking and chopping every step of the way, and doing as much damage to the enemy as possible. And he did not. He did not. It's 4 years. He did not. Now, on the other
because they're not his enemy, Mark.
Right, they're not his
enemy. They're not his enemy.
But here's what's really fascinating about that, too. Now, let's go. How long does it take for you to assert yourself as president with regard to your command magic pointy finger? Now, in fact, he did use. Now, let's correct everybody, because the apologists constantly do this. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat, but the Republicans do this like Trump did the bump stock thing. He didn't need to give the anti-gunners anything. They had no power whatsoever. None. He didn't have to give them anything. He is the president. Anything they try to pass, he can stop by lack of signature. If they want to go back and try to, override a veto, fine. So all he did was wuss out, or he showed you his real red and yellow colors. Now, in reality, like I said, who was it told him to do that? Kushner, and the rest of the turds. We know what's going on. So
yeah, Mark.
Now we have this bat faggot group, and they're going after the gun. They're going after the gun owners. Another block, which is bigger still than the bump stock owners, by the way. Go ahead. Jump in there.
Yeah. You can't tell me that a whole agency can go rogue and thumb their nose at the president. It seems to me, if they do that, I mean, he could just call out the Marines and gather them all up.
Oh, no, it's like this. You're fired. Well, guys, let's understand. He's the executive officer. He is the executive officer of the executive branch. All of these alphabet soup agencies, despite any other extension in terms of activity, fall under the executive branch. There's the, again, judicial, congressional, and executive. Those are the only three branches. Now, there is a bureaucracy that intertwines through all three, but is still under the guidelines of the corporation, not just the guidelines. In fact, actually, because we are so far around the corner with regard to the corporation, it is only the corporate government that is in there, not the constitutional government. Okay, fine. It still subdivides exactly by paperwork and three-ring binder. So he has total ability to tell them, if nothing else, he say, congratulations, you, and you. Oh, no, I'm not going to drop your pay grade. I have a special task force I'm organizing, and you, and you are either part of it, and you're going to Greenland, or you can leave your jobs. But you, and you, I'm signing and creating a new executive position located in northern Greenland, and you are going to observe the possibility of polar bear transmigration gun smuggling. Congratulations. I've mentioned this before. All you got to do is pick a dot on the map, and you take all your enemies and you send them there to work for you. It's the Versailles syndrome. Remember, the king of France created Versailles. Why did he create Versailles? Well, there was this massive, bloated, monolithic monarchy that was in place, and guess what? He decided he wanted to keep an eye on them. So they made this grand palace, this grand central location, and kept them all busy there in spinning their wheels and in their little games, all within a confine that could be managed. Now, the bureaucracy that we have right now is a spider web that runs all across the country. It needs, first of all, to be boxed back into certain corners, kind of like what was intended by the Founding Fathers, remember? That's why we had the District of Criminals, supposedly. And that was supposed to box in the what? The federal mechanism, so it had neutral ground. Well, look at what's happened to that spider nest, that spider egg pile. And that's really what's causing the problems that we have right now. So, anyway, I heard a voice. Go ahead, jump in there, please. I heard somebody say...
That was me. I was speaking French. I said, mon Dieu.
Yeah, mon Dieu. Yes.
Mon Dieu.
Well, the thing about this, and again, where we are right now, the bat faggots are in motion. The only thing now that they're saying is, they claimed, and by the way, he's already overturned that, guys. I want you to pay attention to something. A comment that was made in Guns and Gadget from about 4 or 5 postings ago said, they were claiming they're going to stop and hold off for 60 days. In reality, it turns out they never slowed down, number one, but here's the thing, they've been in motion since the bump stock thing that Trump signed. They've been in motion already. This is not something new where, they just got to it. Guys, now pay attention and listen to what they're saying. the industry finally admitted that this is all stale potato chips and has been in motion. All they're doing is, they're not even idling their wheels. They're claiming, and here's the other thing to remember about this BS, they're lying. They're not waiting 60 days out. They're in motion doing stuff right now. Right now. Now, if everybody always has to be placated, and this is the mistake made where even when you listen to releases made within the system, let's understand that that's for public idiot stick consumption. They're buying time from one direction while in reality they're in motion. Well, we're not doing anything. Go back to sleep for 60 days. No, they're not. They're in motion right now. Period. And they plan on doing great bodily harm to all of you. Period. Which is why, again, we all need to be, thinking ahead and moving in the right direction and we double our activities, by the way, redouble our speed for the exact same reason. Again, this shipwreck is not going to be changed. There's nothing on the horizon that's going to fix it. I hear the music. We're going to take a break for a moment. God bless our republic. Yes, to the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're on the march. We're going to be back here in a few minutes. Meanwhile, Ed taking over and grab a cup of coffee. If you got to go use the bathroom, run over there real quick and come back and sit down with us for another hour here in Liberty Tree Radio.
Mr. President, members of Congress, you've been making a lot of noise about taking our guns away. But you might want to review history. 1835. Gonzales, Texas territory. The authorities wanted to confiscate the big gun that protected that colony. You know what the people said? Come and take it. Because they were willing to fight for their freedom and their guns. So are we. Come and take it if you want it. Come and take it if you think you can. Come and take it, but I warn you, you'll have to pry it from our cold dead hands. We want the freedom that God gave us, so you best not cross that line. If you want this gun, you gotta come through us and take it one shot at a time. Just like Gonzales, we're keeping our guns.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you will fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Corky. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in the lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states and territories, and the clock. It is 6:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Communications Tuesday. We haven't talked about radios as much as we should probably today. It is the 27th of October. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K 2020 Old Earth calendar, 2020 year of conflict, year of betrayal, battle for the Republic, dance of swords. And it has been a very busy weekend, and of course we're already into Tuesday. run around taking care of just the usual odds and ends. First of all, for our friends in Arkansas, watch for your boxes to show up in your mailbox. Again, the torpedoes are in the water. So for our friends in Arkansas, pay attention, watch your mailbox. There's boxes on the way to multiple locations. So, happy things there. Everybody's up to speed, and all of the red, blue, green sites are out and in the system. We'll see how much makes it to where they're supposed to. I think so far it's been 100%. Pretty darn good, which is how it should be anyway. Pretty darn good. Anyway, a couple things here real quick that I do want to touch on. Number one, building an AR-15, as we've said, for $430. I can add a few calibers to that project, by the way, and one might make more sense for the moment. More on that in a second. First of all, complete lowers, the price that seems to be settled around the system for the plumb crazy complete lowers, which are papered. They do require an FFL. Are centerfiresystems.com and Classic Firearms. They both have the lowers that are complete, plumb crazy, all polymer, in stock, ready to go, and so that's one stop right there. Now, number two is, and this is the quickest, easiest solution to be able to put a complete AR together in two steps as far as all the basic components of the gun. Go to BearCreekArsenal.com. That's BEAR, as in Bear Creek Arsenal. Creek as in water stream. BearCreekArsenal.com. Arsenal is in many guns, so an inventory of arms, okay? BearCreekArsenal.com. 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 When you get there, go over to the products. You want to go to the complete uppers, and then you want to go with a non-fluted barrel. Fluted barrels, you might find a discount on something. I really haven't looked, but typically the regular, straight, conventional barrels are cheaper. Less work, okay? The side charging handle AR-15 uppers means that you get bolt carrier, bolt, and the side charging handle system all together with the upper receiver, one block. So two-stop shopping and you're done with the basic rifle. That is very, very useful. Obviously, the lower receiver is going to be $130. We're just talking base price. We're not talking about shipping and anything. But base price for an upper complete as a side charging handle is about $300. The big advantage is that for a few dollars more or a few dollars less, there are a number of 16-inch barreled uppers, hold on a second, that are available. One of them is the 7.62 by 39 upper for $300. Now, I mentioned the AR-15 standard 5.56, 223 Wild. This is a 7.62 by 39. So, to be quite honest, what have I seen more of out there than I have 223, and I've seen it cheaper? Right now, if you wanted to, you could build a 7.62 by 39 AR for $430. And if you wanted to switch out that upper anytime, you could immediately invest in a 5.56 or a 223 Wild. Now, you could go the other way around, get the 223 first, then spend the money and buy a 7.62 by 39, and you've covered, again, two calibers for one rifle, so at least you can keep shooting. Go ahead, caller, jump in there. Who do we have?
We got Tom. Have you mentioned or heard about Proposal 2 in Michigan?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Have you heard about Proposal 2 on the ballot in Michigan?
No, go right ahead. I probably have, but jog my memory. Go ahead.
Michigan voters will see two state-side questions on the ballot. Proposal 2 would amend the Michigan Constitution to protect electronic data and communications in the same way the law protects your home and papers from unreasonable searches and seizures. Here's what it is. Proposal State 22 proposal. A proposed constitutional amendment to require a search warrant to access a person's electronic data or electronic communications. This proposed constitutional amendment would prohibit unreasonable searches or seizures of a person's electronic data and electronic communications, require a search warrant to access a person's electronic data or electronic communications under the same conditions currently required for the government to obtain a search warrant to search a person's house or seize a person's things.
And that's going to be that's going to be with the ballot here in the next few days. I'm sorry, I haven't really been up to really bothering with what it is. I as far as what's at the state level, as far as propositions, sorry about that, but only because, like I said, I consider the vote to be really viable to begin with. But go ahead.
It's election 2020. Here's what you need to know about Proposal 2, and then it says, like I said, Michigan voters will see 2 state questions on their ballots. Proposal 2 will amend the Michigan Constitution to protect electronic data and communications in the same way the law protects your home and papers from unreasonable search seizures. In an analysis by the Nonpartisan Citizens Research Council, the group noted Proposal 2 attempts to remove any ambiguity about whether private citizens' electronic data is explicitly protected. Now, again, this is Proposal 2 in the state of Michigan, so it'll be on the 2020 ballot.
Okay, very good. Well, that means it will be in the next few days. Well, actually,
a week from today.
Yeah.
But again, for the third time, it's state proposal. It's state 20-2 proposal. Again, it's a proposed constitutional amendment to require a search warrant to access a person's electronic data or electronic communications. This proposed constitutional amendment would prohibit unreasonable searches or seizures of a person's electronic data and electronic communications, require a search warrant to access a person's electronic data or electronic communications under the same conditions currently required for the government to obtain a search warrant to search a person's house or seize a person's things. Again, I just repeated myself. So, again, go out there and vote yes on this one.
Yeah, vote yes, and hopefully they'll follow through on any rules. But I don't have, I don't really have a whole lot of confidence in them. But
I don't either. But at least vote yes on this one, because let them work for it. Don't just let them work for a living. Let them do their job.
No, force them to do their jobs. Right.
Yeah, force them to do their job. That way.
But put their nose to the grindstone and keep it there until they have no nose.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's like I said. I mean, I was looking through the ballots. I was looking through the ballot in the state of Michigan, see what all we had to vote for, and statewide, countywide, and countrywide, and I happened to see this proposal. I'm like, I don't think Mark's ever mentioned it. If he has, I don't remember him mentioning it.
No, I haven't seen it. I really, it's one of those things, like I said, I'm to the point where throw the dart, whatever they think they're going to get away with or what they choose to pass or allow to, again, same with the election, whoever they choose, it's going to be a matter of, the dartboard. I mean, what do they feel like? Do they think they can get away with this? Do they want to block it? Probably they do, so it probably won't go through. We'll see what happens. A lot of people are pissed. I mean, there is no doubt about it. And in fact, that's one of the many issues that everybody is obviously concerned with. But even the ones who are wearing the face mask because they've been filled with the paranoia of the controlled media, through what source? The only thing can possibly be is the phone and the computer.
Yeah,
because obviously everybody's home.
Yeah, I saw that, and I had to share it, and that way people will know that I haven't looked at the ballots or anything, because I like to see. And it was pretty. I saw that, and it's like, pretty interesting.
Yeah, and again, definitely. Well, it's one of the things to watch to see how it develops. Where does it go? That'll be the thing.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Anything else? By the way, are you guys cold weather? I know. What have you got? Rain or snow right now?
Well, we've been having rain, but today was a pretty nice sunny day. It was in the 50s.
Oh, send that our way. That's good. That means it'll be coming back down here. If you got that up north, that's what's See, the wind's out of the north right now, so that's the stuff heading our way then. Very good. Although I made a mistake, I painted everything I could today, even though it was piddly rain, like a soft rain. I only had a little bit of one project left to get the armor gray on, and finally did. So.
Well, the other day we had rain mixed with snow, and I'm like, oh man.
Well, it's good for deer season. See, that's the thing. We're into bandit season now. It's nice. If you're going to track, a little bit of white makes blood show up a lot better. Somebody was complaining. Yeah, someone was complaining to me today that one of the guys shot a 12-point buck, but they spent the afternoon looking for it and couldn't find the thing. The guy knows he hit it, but they haven't run it down so far. Well, hopefully they don't give up. It's rainy. It's pissy rain. They came back in is what they did. And I caught them over at the one of the stores. They were, stopping there. And I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And they, we had a buck today. So a little bit of snow helps, guys. I mean, it does make a big difference.
My dad would always say, a couple inches good for tracking. He would always say, for deer season, we can have snow. Then after deer season, it can melt away.
Yeah, melt it away. That's perfect. Yeah. Well, again, we don't know what's going to happen this year. There has been a lot of solar activity we haven't talked about, which, by the way, is also affecting radio communications, so it fits right in, guys. But the solar activity is, going to change and does always affects the higher altitude conditions, which in turn helps to alter weather conditions down below. I mean, just how it works. So what we can pay attention to is, again, like we saw, last week, the end of last week, where we had this flurry of fronts in 3 different directions running through Michigan. And that is not uncommon for the fall season. With the solar activity, in fact, I believe right now we've got another solar spike going on right now. This is going to affect a lot of the upper end communications, and it's going to have an interruption effect and range limitation effect on the middle end of the radio, the commercial radio bandwidth, where a lot of the stuff that you're using that the other side is committed to that we're not has got problems, and it's going to, especially because they manage at high altitude. They're flying command centers, things of that nature. They ground stuff out. They do all kinds of things with shielding, copper wrap, null cloth. The null carbide cloth that we've got some of that. It blocks electromagnetic 100%. 100%. I've got many panels of it. We use it around different locations here for anti-microwave and anti-other technology suppression. But the big thing here, again, is that it's going to continue to be an issue for probably the next 2 to 3 months. That's overlapping with all the other things that are going on around the country politically and, again, which an extension of that is militarily and economically. So heads up and stay focused. I can't stress enough, this is why I also want to have diversified communications. I've got to get Tom back into Marine. I don't think you have a Marine radio, but a lot of you guys up north, if you can, start watching for Marine radios on the cheap over at Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot of stuff out there. Yesterday, if I'd had more time and if I could travel more, there's a whole bunch of goodies all through Ohio, especially around Akron. For you guys down in Ohio, you might want to go to Facebook Marketplace, go pay attention over there towards the Akron, Ohio area and search. What's weird is I'm in Michigan and I'm getting all this stuff that's popping up in their system, so I don't know how the hell their racket works with their algorithms for the search request. But there is always something interesting that pops up there. Marine radio is one area. Obviously, any ham rigs, watch for estate sales and estate radio equipment showing up. Go check it out. Now, mostly if a person is, older, they've got friends in the system, the family, usually there's some kind of accommodation to go pick up the guy's equipment. That happens. Sometimes it's the family because they're tied into radio too. But every once in a while, a whole system leaks out. There was one last weekend that went for like $250, and it was floor to ceiling, a complete system to work the whole radio spectrum for $250. The base radio rig itself was a Mohawk I think with a full, 50-watt amplifier, all the bells and whistles and add-ons, and let's see, what was the other stuff? It was a Heath kit system for the bass, but all the rest was Motorola. In fact, I don't know, that was an indication the guy was with the industry, because it was commercial Motorola. Guys, back when this stuff was built, it was you have to hawk your firstborn male child to get something like that. And this guy obviously was connected, so pay attention. You never know what you're going to run into. You slide that sideways, and you're all of a sudden talking and listening to the world in anything you want to, including military frequencies, military and police, secret police, clandestine garbage where they think you don't know where to look, which we do. And all of their garbage, it's open to monitoring one way or another. Remember, if you have a strong signal but activity that's encrypted, you have enemy activity in your backyard. Use the monitoring technology, and especially frequency counters, to be able to identify when your enemy is close. Increased 800 cell activity in pods is another thing we watch for. If you have a suspected enemy trace vehicle passing by, you use an older frequency counter to identify and ping their ID markers. Okay, the older frequency counters, guys, have been restricted. If you had it, you could keep it. You got it. They can't do anything about it anyway. Hide it. But those are a gem now because, well, we used to go to the gun shows and monitor the bat faggots talking back and forth, or the guys at the tables who were rats calling the bat faggots in the show. Which is, we pointed this out to everybody. You actually would sit down with a couple of guys that were dealers and watch the traffic. And since we picked out the bat faggots first, then we would watch the cell phone traffic and monitor it, and even have people listening. Hey, listen to this. See, he's on the phone? Watch his lips. Listen to what he's saying. And you put that on a speaker and let everybody go, oh. And then they'd know who the rats were at the show that you don't do business with. And the rats who are walking around at the gun show that you, be doing a different business on, too, when the time comes. That way you can peg them all. So, anyway, radio communications, especially right now, is a critical priority. And don't listen to the dunderheads. Oh, they're going to jam everything. I'm the first one to tell you that. How many times have I told you everything in a military environment will be jammed? It's not what most of your radio equipment is for, because in the precursor, you actually can use it as a Russian dead hand. If all of your signals go down, then you have an imminent attack. It may not be, it can be in a given window of activity. It could be minutes, could be hours. But if all of your signals go down or become null, that's where you all mobilize quietly and, precisely, and with SOP, standard operating procedure, in place. If you're the thinking people. Not having communications means that, yes, you do go back to the Stone Age very quickly. We don't have to light it up all the time. In fact, as much as anything, it's for peacetime use, especially in rebuild scenarios. You need to have the technology on the shelf now in order for your community to be able to operate in the future, right? That's the plan. And we're managing it, not the other side with their 800 cell phone towers or the rest of their 5G crap. We are managing the communications ourselves. Part of that freedom thing. And that's what you all need to be focusing on, is a freedom cycle. So just heads up there. We're almost to the bottom of the hour. And, somebody's asking again. Okay, for those uppers, all of the uppers that are the side charging handle over at BearCreekArsenal.com. 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 BEAR, Bear, grrr, BearCreekArsenal.com. The preference would be a 16-inch, but there are some 18 and 20s. If you want to spend a few more dollars, you can get a really fine 20-inch for about $350 to $360. It's a side charging handle, 20-inch barrel, full rifle length gas system. There you go. And then you can still snap that plastic lower to that first thing, and then start trading it out to make it more of an MBR, not an MBR, but a light rifle in a long 20-inch barrel. If I had that lower, I would look to see what it takes to carefully remove the buffer tube and replace it with a full-length rifle tube, buffer tube with all the internals. And I'd go with a standard fixed rear stock. Now I've got an A1, A2 configured. Well, actually, it's an A3 because of the flat top all the way across the whole of the weapon. So it's really an A3 with a side charging handle. It works out pretty well. And again, still keeping the cost down. So this is where, if you're especially also looking at other calibers, there's a bunch of other calibers you can get, but almost all of them are, like unobtainium. 300 Blackout's the only one there might be some stuff floating around, but most of the others, pretty much outrageous. 7.62 by 39 for the upper that they have is probably it would be a tight competition between those two as far as me picking right now. Looking at the cost and the lack of 223, 5.56 ammo in good numbers, I myself would lean towards doing the 7.62 by 39 upper with the plum crazy lower, and then buying the hell out of the ammo fast. Now, immediately somebody's going to ask, well, what would you use for mags? 20 rounders, and in addition to that, I'd use 20 round AR-15 mags, cheapest I could find. And in addition, the 7.62 by 39 committed magazines that are actually have a more banana look to them than, the average bear. With the 20 rounders, you typically would load 11 to 13 rounds. Well, Bork, it's not 20. Yes, I know, I can count too. I can use horse hoofs for that one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I understand that. But the advantage is that I've got a weapon I can shoot more for less. And if I buy the proper mags, which, by the way, everybody's got the 7.62 by 39 mags laying around out there. They're not that popular. So they are out and about, and you even find a few sales on them here and there. And you could build an entire system up and at least put it on the shelf and have it ready to go. However, my problem with that is, if I got a complete upper, all I got to do is spend another $130 for a plum crazy lower, and every time I buy another upper or have a spare, I might as well put another rifle together. Does everybody understand that? That's what gets me about this. It's like you might as well buy 4, 5, or 6 of those plum crazy lowers, and every time you build something or want something different, just tack it onto another lower for the time being. That way, every one of your uppers is another gun ready to go. It's that affordable as far as I'm concerned. They were more affordable still because when the plum crazy units first came out, you'll recall on this program, nobody else was talking about them. When they were $97, $92, there was a competition to see how low they could go with the promotional. And after that, then they were back up to the regular price, which is okay. Where they are now is probably where they expected them gradually to be able to work it up step by step, a few dollars at a time, and they did. But $130 for a complete lower, if you're going to do something papered anyway, $130 gets you ready to go now. $130 and $300. That's a $430 AR-15. Can you find a complete operating $430 AR-15 anywhere right now? Now, when I mean operating, I mean when you buy the Bear Creek Arsenal side charging handle upper, everything's on board. That is the complete top of a gun. When you buy the Plum Creek lower, that is the complete bottom of a gun. So now it's just a matter of you got to pay the FFL, you're going to have to pay your shipping, whatever it is, and that's kind of like on ammunition. I don't mention ammunition as much with the combos now because you're going to have to just find ammo no matter where it is and no matter what caliber you pick. And it's not going to be like it was before where I could actually almost do 1 or 2 stop shopping and get a reasonably priced AR together 6 months ago or 8 months ago, remember? I walk through this on the program constantly. In fact, there are even full complete rifles that were better priced than this in the past. Deltons were, about $400. In fact, as little as $360 at one point. Off the shelf, centerfiresystems.com.
I paid under $300 for mine at Bear Creek Arsenal, Mark.
Yeah. Again, guys, think about that. And we're looking at. We know what the price slide has been. So if you're coming later, the idea is to try and give you a solution so you can actually get mom and the kids outfitted where maybe you only had a rifle for yourself that you bought. Now you're realizing you still need 4 weapons. And if you want all the same weapon, everybody's got to have an AR. This is the way for everybody to have an AR that uses 5.56 ammunition, which you're going to find laying around in one form or another. Warm off dead corpses or the trunks of SUVs, or strapped to the side of, or inside knocked out APCs or equipment that you overrun. So if that's what your interest is, this is the way to do it, and do it affordably. I'm trying to find solutions so you've got enough money to get everything done that needs to be done, because you still got a lot of other stuff. Just because you got a gun, if you're standing there bare-ass naked, you're in trouble, because you still need everything else to support the gun. And that's the, ain't the razor, it's the blades. That's what always gets you. So in this case, magazines and ammunition, and you still need some kind of optical device or iron sights for the roof. I've not found any reasonable place, and I called all the wholesalers that I've been in touch with for a long time that are doing gun parts. Nobody has any inexpensive or even middle, relatively mildly expensive iron sights, plastic sights even, okay? The other option, which is a consideration, I haven't gone deep into that yet, is to go look at the airsoft companies to get a set of spare flip-up plastic sights. Now, I'm going to point something out. Magpul makes a bunch of those, and they're used on the airsoft guns. Just if you didn't know that, I've mentioned this many times on the air, okay? One of the companies that's pretty cool, they're located in Indiana, airsoftmarketplace.com. 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 Okay? Now, there's a nice little combo. I'm going to switch gears here. Yeah, I know it's not a walkie-talkie. These are airsoft guns. Okay? I'm sticking with this where I need to get it out. Smith & Wesson M&P kit. How many of you guys have Smith & Wesson M&Ps? If you got a 40 or a 9, doesn't make any difference. For training with airsoft, they're both the same gun, right? Basic weapon is the same. There's no significant change there. These have been tested, worked great. Some batteries have been resoldered. These are reprocessed. In other words, they're restored. Being pulled out, guns are in great condition, including original box and the AEG rifles. Spring pistol ammo, battery, and charger. The boxes are tattered because these are a volume deal. I've mentioned these companies. I haven't done it in a while, though. Battery will be inserted in the gun to assist in proper placing of the battery. And $57 will get you an M&P pistol and a Smith & Wesson AR-15/M4 knockoff complete. Electric for the rifle, spring for the pistol, but guess what? If you're needing to practice, and you have that's the system you have. A lot of you guys have the Smith & Wesson or M&P type, forgive me, the Ruger knockoffs. Basically, the Rugers are the same. Now, I know, don't tell me about the internals. Doesn't count with this. These are airsoft. The basic pattern of the rifle is the same, although you can even find exact copies of the Rugers out there in plastic or in metal airsoft. But over at Airsoft Marketplace, $57. If you're committed to the M&P, he's got a pretty good selection of M&Ps in blowback, in solid frame, BB solid frame, plastic pellet. In fact, right now you're in the perfect niche for being able to find the SIG P226s and the Smiths in force out there in airsoft land. So it's a good time to actually be working with those particular weapons. If you've already got them in service, you might as well practice with the airsoft, because you don't want to be burning ammunition up, do you? In fact, here's the other solution. Right now with the BB pistols, there is every variation on the standard arms presently made available in the BB pistols, in the .177 caliber, and they even do blowback. Most of the newest ones, and even now the first generation ones, are no big deal. But there are blowback, semi-automatic, magazine-fed BB pistols that are in .177 BB that will function exactly the way your pistol, and it is a copy of the pistol that you may presently carry, or pretty darn close if it's something that's a variation. Go ahead, caller.
This time again, did that person ever try them sights out on a 12 gauge? If so, did he?
Actually, they're working on it right now. I just saw one of them today, and just about the same time I heard about the 12-point deer. So I haven't had a chance to see if he's done any more with it. I was going to give him a call, but probably not today. Although he's got everything in hand, so
yeah. Because I'd like to know. Because I'd like to know for that way if I get one or two or whatever, I put one on a shotgun, it doesn't, if it doesn't screw it up somehow.
Right. Well, that's the thing. He wants to try it out because it's deer season, so he's going to put it on the rifle and take it out with the shotgun, and take it out for the mission. So
now, can you put them on handguns too?
I wouldn't. We talked about this. It probably will work on a handgun, but typically the handgun models are smaller. This is not a very big sight, but it is, I'd say, a medium size. It's not a really grossly oversized sight at all. In fact, it looks, small on a regular rifle. But if you look at some of the red dots that are out there, they are quite small. I've noticed that what we're getting and what you're paying for it, for anybody who gets one, just a red dot is typically another, $20-some for the cheapest one available. And all the really cheap ones are gone. Okay, I noticed that even the places, well, no, it's listed here. Yeah, you go there, you tag the product, you get to the product, and then it says, sold out. So the bastards left it posted, wasting your time rather than taking it off the inventory, which happens a lot, by the way. So that means you end up wasting the time, and good, I'm going to put it in the add the cart, and you're going to the section where the thing is, and it takes a second to load up, and then it loads up, and it has that magic out of stock, banner across where it, was, add to cart for sale. So
that happened to me when I went to buy some 380 ammo online. It said it was in stock, and I went and filled everything out, and I went to the shopping cart, and it says out of stock. I'm like, man.
Well, and that's the problem. Is how much time did they waste of ours? I understand that it's a lot of trouble because they got to, work the page. But this is where a lot of these companies, especially, and it's Communications Tuesday, and this is communication. I don't know who talks them into changing their software for their page. Some of these pages have been phenomenal when they've started up on electronic, and then all of a sudden they are told you need to change up and change to something new. And they do, and you can't navigate the page for your life. I mean, or what happens again, things that were not a problem before, because it is a time waster. Is you're setting up orders, you look at something, okay, well I want 5 of those, 10 of those, 20 of those, and so you go to it. And then you finally get to this, you go to you see it in the general catalog. The general listing. You go to the more, elaborate subcategory of, firearms, gun parts, whatever it is, and it's still there. Then you tag it, you go to it, and it says out of stock. Well, it should have been pulled from the inventory and should not be in the listing of available inventory or stock where it's creating confusion. It just hurts business to a degree because a lot of people start walking away from the page too. And that actually, I think, did put 1 or 2 companies out of business in the last couple of months, where their pages were so twitchy, and even though people told them to correct it, they didn't. And people did buy the inventory out, but they also didn't come back, or they just, they noted that there was a reduction in activity. Well, there's a reason there was a reduction in activity. Customers were dissatisfied with the electronic page. And it happens a lot, more than you might imagine. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, it's Dorzek. Normally, in my experience, what I've found is these people are sold software by a slick salesman, and they come in and they show you everything that it'll do on their laptop, and they're like, oh, yeah, we got to have that. That's great. But they don't either pay for the training, or the person they put in charge doesn't actually learn the software program itself.
Exactly.
And they wind up coming up short.
Oh, yeah, and it does. That's where the problem is. It creates a situation where it actually damages the, to a degree, I guess, it's just a reputation on the part of the people who are taking an interest in the product. Oh, here. As a matter of fact, one of the other things that I as a sidebar, Marketplace Somebody's just asking me here, well, they have crossbows and stuff. Yeah, they do have some pistol crossbows. I don't know how many they actually have. I know they do have them in stock. They are there. Also, they do have a lot of the 177 revolvers and such, if you guys are interested in, maybe you've got a wheel gun. The biggest problem has been, how deep is the inventory? So it doesn't mean I'm not trying to turn you away from it, but I'm just saying that if you're thinking about multiples, understand that the system is thin across the board, because some of the companies that we're dealing with here that I'm talking about, like Marketplace, airsoftmarketplace.com, I deal with the same wholesalers that they do for certain products, and they actually have it in stock, which means they probably have the last of that, what's available. Hopefully they have the biggest chunk of it they pulled from the wholesaler, because the wholesalers are completely exhausted. And the small crossbows, the pistol crossbows, whatever's out there, I don't know how much of that is actually going to be replaced, because I have noticed something we were just talking about. Several of those companies have completely taken their crossbow inventory off of the catalog. That means they're not coming back. They're not going to be, or if they do, they're going to have a totally different line, or they're going to renegotiate something from China Sport, and then we're going to find out what it is, and that's what you'll be buying. Another thing, arrows and crossbow bolts are in the same boat right now. I mean, full size, not just pistol ball bolts. The pistol crossbow bolts, there was so many of those sold. Fortunately, there's still a bunch of the dart/bolts coming in, but you got to watch it there. Pay attention when you look at a product. There are some rounded head, children's crossbow ammunition. Somebody was complaining because they got a really good price, and then they didn't look at what they bought. Well, lo and behold, when I looked at the page, well, they were the children's. They've got a metal tip on the end, but it's rounded, so it's basically like a 38 special round ball, but it's a handgun crossbow bolt. It's a little, a dart for a children's model, which is about like a 10-pound crossbow. They were cheap, and they saw cheap, and they bought a bunch of them, and then they didn't realize that they bought cheap, and it was the size that they needed, but not what they wanted. Don't complain when you don't read. Always pay attention. It's like I've told you, okay, it's Communications Tuesday. I got to reinforce this. A lot of you guys bought the Baofeng radios. I had this happen last weekend, talking to the guys that came up from Tennessee. I had a little exchange with them, and they were complaining that they bought these brand new Baofeng radios, and I don't know what model they got, but they were complaining because when they bought from the same company, they bought the headsets, the throat mics, and the earpiece, and the plugs weren't right. And I pointed out, I said, did you make sure that you read the advertisement for the particular unit that you bought? And then I had this comment made to me, well, they're all the same. And it's like, no, go back and go to the person you bought them from. Probably it was DX, Deal Extreme, or, Wish. Go back and read, and you'll notice that the same picture is used for all of the different manufacturers, including Kenwood. And lo and behold, it was like, and they didn't want to admit it right away, but in a later conversation, it came up that, they had to say the fact was interesting, kind of like something happened with Nancy. The stuff is so expensive to ship back, and it's such a burden for them to worry about it, that what's funny is if you order wrong, they typically now tell you just keep what you got and we'll send the replacements. That's kind of neat. So if you were evil, I wouldn't recommend you take a chance on this. But if you were really evil and you had Kenwoods, you buy some Kenwoods and tell them, hey, you sent me the wrong ones. Oh, we'll just keep those, and here we'll send you the Baofengs, and then you get those that way. So you get all your radio throat mics and headsets, or your boom mics and whatever system you want, for free for half of them. Don't do that. You probably won't it won't work right for you. You know what I mean? It always happens that way. I could tell you about it, and then it happens just the reverse of the way we, described. Only because they'll catch on. I mean, I would. After a while, anyway. So the big thing here is read. I cannot emphasize enough. Read. Stop. Go through. First of all, look at the listing. Don't just look at the idea. There's a set of earbuds. There's the throat mic. Yep, there it looks like that's the one I want. Yes, it is, but there's 25 different listings. Oh, they're all the same. Find the one that matches your rig, because they do proprietary jacks. You would think that they would all be pretty much on the same, kind of like the little earbud jacks for your, your personal radios and personal equipment that they made for years, like on your everything from your Walkman to your CD players to whatever, or the old transistor radios. That's true to a degree. There even are some of those models out there, but not everybody. And these new, what are considered tactical radios, they figured they go proprietary so there's no confusion. But because of that, all the other China Sport manufacturers are producing a comparable product for the other people they contract with, which are all these other radio manufacturers. And not just Baofeng is out there. I've said this a million times. There's Chao Du Bang Nai and Chu Dao Dong Bang Nai, and all the others. And you half of them, again, like I said, you just take a silverware door, turn it upside down, and use your ear to listen. There you go, I got it. Learn Chinese. Hey, drop the handful of forks first. Okay? And
Mark?
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, this is Tex-Mex again. Yeah, back to firearms. I know it's Communication Tuesday, but I kind of didn't. I took some of your advice, but I kind of went a little bit sideways with it. But I went ahead and I got me an M1 Garand. So.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just kind of wondering where can I get some of the stuff I need for it? Like I've been able to find, like on Amazon, I found the attachment for the muzzle guide, and it's something called a M1 Buddy for so you can catch and keep stuff from going down inside when you push your rod through. Is there any other accessories? I know I want to get one of the cleaning kits and everything for it. Where can I get some of that?
I would go through gunpartscorp.com, and here's where to go right off the bat is run over to. In fact, hold on, I'll walk you through it, because I have a bunch of stuff on order over there right now. If you go over to, and some of the stuff is for the Garand. If you go to www.gunpartscorp.com, and for everybody else listening, pay attention, because there are some things you're probably going to want. One of them is a snow trigger. I've mentioned this a couple times for the Garand and for the M14. Most people aren't familiar with it, but get one. They are definitely worthwhile if you're going to be in any cold climate and you're going to be keeping your hands warm. Sometimes you don't have time to get your little squiggly finger into that trigger finger mitten, okay, that index finger slot, okay? If you go over to gunpartscorp.com, and when you get there, what did they do? You bastard, you changed your format. I was just talking about this. I hate that when it happens. There we go. Oh, no, all of a sudden it goes to normal. Oh, okay, well, thank God. Anyway, we're going to go over to deals. And if you go over to deals, actually, they've got it rearranged a little bit. It's not extreme. Go to closeouts. Okay, when you do deals, touch it, they'll go to closeouts. There is a bunch of Garand stuff, including some, or at least there was. Now, who knows what's changed up. There's 17 pages. And as you go through there, you will find that there are cleaning kits and a few other things that are reasonably priced. Cleaning rods, one of the heavier gauge, external cleaning rod for the cleaning rod kits, the one that's the hanger type. In fact, they've got a cleaning rod, M8, box of 10, World War II. You don't need 10. U.S. military contract, unissued, $50 for 10.
Hey, Dad.
Go ahead, Ed, we got you.
I just got to come in because I heard this while I was moving between rooms. We had the news on in the other room, and we have a new classification of COVID death. It doesn't involve the COVID-19 virus, but they're including it in the death toll for these nursing homes. Failure to thrive due to COVID-19. Now, it has nothing to do with COVID. It has to do with the care that they're getting from the medical centers or the lack thereof. You know, we've talked about this before. These people are usually in those facilities because they're close to the end of their life anyway. Talking about how they are aging prematurely and people are posting stuff. I've come up on here and talked about it before, how they are holding family members hostage, You know, they're not allowing them to see their family members and everything, and now they've got a term for it, and they're being included in the COVID-19 death toll, which is the failure to thrive due to COVID-19 is showing up on death certificates now.
Failure to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Thrive as in I'm not thriving. So it's kind of like what's her name dying in Star Wars after she had the 2 kids. She just had a lack of a will to live. Was she healthy? Yeah. Isn't she? Well, what happened? Well, she just flopped over dead, died, and she was healthy and not bleeding to death or anything. She just died. She wasn't thriving.
This has been going on from the beginning. They have cut it's terrible. They have cut those elderly people off from their families.
Yep, intentionally.
That's the only life some of those people have, is they get to see their kids and their grandkids.
It was what they were counting on in their old age, which I know it's like hospice. The people are dying. What more do you think you're going to do to them? If they're already planning on, if you go to hospice, they figure they're going to try to get you dead within a short period of time, right? Notice I didn't say that they're planning on you dying. Their job is to get you there. But we're so terrified of the staff getting, coronavirus, and it's like they're dust bunny echoing halls of hospital palacia is what they come down to now. There's nobody. I mean, the staff basically are standing around picking their nose and rotating between their nose and their arse. They're not doing much of anything. In fact, they also are minimizing. I found one hospital, by the way, that closed down completely. I didn't even know about it until we went by it yesterday. That's how busy they've been. They actually shut down a hospital here. But, shut it down and closed it. It's empty. It's done. There's nobody there. Why? Well, they minimized, and they've bandified, and we're all dangerous and in danger and threatened. And all of a sudden, guess what? Wow, dust bunnies, echoing hallways, no customers, no money. And no matter how they try to rack and stack their fake arse BS with the coronavirus, which is really all they've been doing, what it comes down to, it's an insult to all of us, to the point where you almost have to, you've got a society, it's just like in communist Russia. Your best bet was not to tell the government you were sick if you were a dispossessed person anyway. If you were in internal exile, you're going to have to take care of yourself. But we also had to hide you. You would have to be hidden, or the state would try to get hold of you so they could finish you off. Not so they could fix you, but so they could isolate you for no care, and then you would die off. And I think that's some of what we're dealing with right now, as far as this goes. It's
does
not
anybody thrive in a?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, does anybody thrive in a nursing home, really?
Well, it's like what gets me about it. You don't want to be in a nursing home to begin with if you can help it. But if it is, the basic ones like we have around here, like even around the country, are very small now. There's an accommodation type that are pretty cool, where you get full care, and they're amongst people that are of comparable age, but you have to have the nurses there, which they do. However, it's full access. They're basically ranch-style houses. My mom, before she passed away, because she needed a lot more care, she was put in to a facility down in Kentucky where everybody was living at that time in this last few years for my parents. And I'll tell you, it was one of the nicest facilities I've ever seen of the bunch for being a smaller but conventional. All one floor, all accessible, all in a residential area. Anybody could come and go as they wanted to, and everybody did. In fact, it was nonstop parade of people. Well, they cut that all off. They totally destroyed the purpose behind creating these facilities the way they did in the first place. That's why I won't have any problem walking up and putting a bullet in these people's ass when the time comes. Not the people at the retirement home or rest home. I'm talking about the system. I think we need to flush this system out completely. It needs to be gone. But that's me. I don't think there's any fixing it. It's a farce with Trump in there. Trump has already told you, okay, let's think about what we talked about in the 2-hour block here. The beginning of this hour, they're going to tell you that the system is so rampant and rabidly evil that Trump is in charge, but the bat faggots are doing anything they want and threatening to kill Americans in their homes, right? Well, then how are you going to fix that? I want you to tell me, because what basically their excuse is that, well, the guy in charge can't do anything to rein in the Fruit Loops that are down below, and they're all just frothing at the mouth, crazy town loons that need to be put down like the dogs that they are. However, let's understand, back the blue. Really? Think about it. Think about how this is Twilight Zone as Twilight Zone as can get. How are you going to fix it? You got to, like I've said for years, you're going to have to go in, scrub the table right down to the wood, and it means you're going to have to get dirty. You're going to have to break out the bucket and the lye. You're going to have to break out the grinding stone, the scullery stone, and you got to get the grease and crap out of our system, and you got to get the rest of the trash out of the system, and then you have to actually be employing our form of government, not this alien mechanism we have, which is why they've gotten away with abusing our elderly the way that they are, or for that matter, patients or the dying. And it sickens me because, it's kind of like the Terry Schiavo thing. Joe McNeil talked about this many times, and he still is alive. Joe's not dead. But, we talked about it. Everybody let him do to, Schiavo anything that they wanted, starve her to death. She was functional. She knew what was happening to her. She was begging for help. And they intentionally starved her to death because, well, the state gave the order to do it. And after all, if the communists say they want you dead, the communists are supposed to, be able to make sure you die.
Mark?
Okay, go ahead, caller. Jump in there, please.
Mike from Ohio. I know a 35-year-old woman with small children who had emergency heart surgery right before the lockdown, and they made an error in the surgery which caused her to lose a lot of the circulation in her legs. Well, the lockdown came and they said, sorry, we won't give you the second surgery to save your legs. You're just going to have to live on antibiotics until the lockdown is lifted. Well, as of now, she's finally they had to take her because her legs were rotting off, and now she's in the hospital dying of sepsis and having her legs sawed off at 35 years old with small children.
Oh, you wouldn't want me to be the person tied in with that, because you know what I would do. Like I said, I know what I would do. I'm not kind to any of these creatures that we've let this go far. They count on the idea we're just going to let them keep doing this. And in the system, I don't have any respect for the hospital people that are out there, guys. Well, I was up there with Captain Monahan, who, by the way, is passing away. He's dying. He's horribly ill. They lost 2 patients while I was sitting in the hallway. There's nobody in the hallway. They've got rooms that are empty. The place echoes because there's nobody that distracts them. And I'm listening while they're busy sharing pictures and snickering and laughing about crap in little groups of 3 and 4, doing nothing for anybody. Okay, that's because they got lots of time on their hands. And then they lost a couple patients. I'm listening to the conversations that are going on. Now, you've got no distractions. You've got all this 21st century technology, and in an echo chamber collecting dust, like a big mausoleum, you can't figure out where your patients are. That's just part of. But the fact that they're all going along with, and they're, we're at risk. It's kind of like if you got a green uniform on and they give you a rifle. Yep, you're a soldier. That's your job. It's like the cop saying, you don't know how dangerous it is. Yeah, I do. I'd have done the job. I do the job. Know exactly what it's all about. Why are you scared? I mean, after all, you wanted the job. If you went out to get the job, but then you're going to tell me how I need to be I need to give you special dispensation because you don't know how to handle the job, then you're in the wrong job. Okay? Anyway, real quick, Gun Parts Corp, Tex-Mex. I'll come through in the 8 o'clock and bring it up again. I'm looking at parts right here. Trigger, winter, Parkerized steel, brand new original, $495. You can't beat that price. That part, you can't make that for what you're paying for it, but it's one of those parts that if you got a Garand or an M1A, I highly recommend you put it in the inventory and even put it in your combat rig with your M1 Garand or your 14. But there's a lot of other stuff over there. Gunpartscorp.com, go to the clearance section. Bunch of Garand stuff showing up right now. So, including sights, parts, internal spring, all kinds of stuff. We're going to go for now, though. We're going to get out of the way. God bless our republic.
Yes, the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire is on the run.
And we're on the march both day and night.
And all of you together, we're going to have to do this together. Oh, How many people have been hurt by greed and stupidity before your eyes with lies that were compounded upon lies, and then we're supposed to feel good about them?
They will meet the judgment of God.
Yeah. How are you going to fix this? Well, we got to send them to their maker. They need to be sent to their maker for a discussion, and they need to be away from us. That's what needs to happen. Anyway, we're going to get out of the way for now. Ed, taking over. God bless. Bye-bye.
This session is no longer being recorded. Goodbye.